Hello, my beautiful people. Today's video is going to be a bit of a more personal one instead of a huge topic I kind of want to cover, right? Now, I will acknowledge that there was a recent leak about Cyrene by Anon Leaks. However, the reason I haven't made any posts on it is because Cyrene's beta is so close at this point that I can't be bothered to, post more speculation leaks. And it's kind of just gone back and forth, right? What I mean by this is, it was originally believed that Cyrene would be a generalist. Then it was said that she wouldn't be a generalist and that she'd be targeted towards specifically only Chrysos heirs. Then it was changed to dedicated Cassie support. Then it was changed to generalist, and now they're saying that she's targeted towards specific Chrysos heirs. So I'm gonna be honest, I'm just fucking sick of the leaker TC. These guys are really bad at fucking TCing shit half the time, so I'd rather just wait, right? So moving along from that, what I kind of wanted to talk about today is my Europe account, right? My main account. This is the account that has, of course, the E2 Fae, the Cyrene that I folded on, and of course, since I'm now not spending money on any of my gacha accounts, I basically cucked myself from being able to go for E1 Cyrene. I can probably get to like 65 pulls on Cyrene's banner max if I no-lifed all the chests and shit that are in the open world. However, I'm just not going to do that just to not even be able to hit soft pity. I'm good, right? So this is the account. I just cleared the current MOC and I think 3 cycles. My day took 3 cycles and Phanon took 0, right? I believe that's how it went. Yeah, right here. My day took 3 cycles, Phanon took 0. So, it is what it is. Phanon at the end of the day, especially at E2, is a complete monster. Plus, Lygus is shield for him. Now, if you guys want to see the team I ran Phanon with, I ran Phanon with this attack rope E1 Robin, because you only need to worry about getting 1 ultimate off with Phanon, especially at E2. So just put Robin on an attack rope so you can increase her attack buff, right? This is the Branya I used. Yes, completely fucking bricked. And this is the Cyrene I used. Yep. So that's the team I used with E2 Fein on a 0 cycle Lygus. Goes to show you just how fucking strong this guy's E2 is to be able to 0 cycle with brain off completely with a shit team like that. Right. So what I wanted to talk about a bit today is the polling plan for this account, right? I was talking with a friend a little bit on here, and they were asking me, isn't Don Heng kind of bait? Isn't it better to pull Cyrene? And yes, technically, right, especially for an E2 Phanon that can basically solo sustainless the entire time and not really worry about sustain. However, there are different values to E2 Don Heng that I'm able to benefit from that sustainless simply wouldn't be able to offer, right? So I wanted to make a video like this so I could kind of talk to you guys about my reasoning of why, if I win the E1 50-50 for Don, I'll go for E2, right? And why I do this over sustainless with someone like Cyrene. So a big reason why it is that I'm considering E2 Don over Cyrene, unless Cyrene ends up being the most insane support power creep we've ever seen in this game, is that E2 Don, although he's not as strong at buffing as, E1 Tribby or some of these other E1 supports, he offers something else that can really help Phanon, especially in the modes where he usually has a bigger issue with, right? In MOC, I'm going to be honest, I'm not worried about my Phanon's performance in MOC in the slightest. As you just saw, MOC is Phanon's best mode, no matter what. However, his 2 weaker modes being APOC and as well as Pure Fiction, in these 2 modes specifically, adding more damage to Phanon doesn't really outpace just extra attacks, right? This is probably the biggest issue that Phenon has, is AV consumption and the fact that he has a very set limited amount of turns in his ultimate that basically no one else can help with except for his dedicated supports. So while it is true that Sustainless can amp his overall damage more than if I were to run with Dan Heng's extra attacks make a very noticeable difference, as in Pure Fiction combined with Cyrene, he's able to get 21 attacks off at E2 with E0 Cyrene and E2 Dan Heng, right? He gets 14 from E2, just extra turns, right? Because you meteor, extra turn counter, meteor, blah, blah, blah. It keeps going, right? So you get 14 turns from Phenon himself, you get 3 extra meteors from Cyrene, and you get 4 extra dragons from Dan Heng, leading to a total of 21 attacks in a single Phenon ult. And this is incredibly fucking strong for Pure Fiction, especially for me personally, because I also, on top of this, have an E1 Sunday. So the value of getting E2 Dan Heng is even furthered now, because the summon is getting an extra 40% defense shred, which is a massive buff to its damage, if I remember correctly, around 30%. Right, so if, let's say, the dragon normally at E2 does like 400k, all of a sudden it would jump to 500 something k in 2 target scenarios, which is very, very powerful, right? And then alongside this, as I mentioned earlier, you also have APOC. Now, APOC can be a bit annoying for Phenon, because once again, no he has AV consumption, and there's nothing you can really do about that. Unless you get him E1, his entire ult is gonna actually cost more AV than what a cycle usually costs, which is quite annoying most of the time. So the dragon, for those who don't know, actually has a very noticeable chunk of toughness damage, right? Like, I was surprised when I first saw like an APOC showcase with E2 Dan Heng. You don't need to be E2 for the toughness, but you just get more instances, right? The dragon does a fuck ton of fucking weakness break efficiency or like toughness bar damage. So the dragon not only just massively helps because of the extra attacks clearing some more small mob waves in Pure Fiction, but it also fucking eats through the toughness bar of mobs in APOC 2. And of course, you're still going to benefit from this in MOC as well. However, MOC is probably the instance where you'd benefit the least from E2 Dan Heng, right? Specifically, I'm talking about the incredible value it has in Pure Fiction, and as well as APOC to save more AV by eating through the toughness bar quicker, right? So this is why I'm personally highly considering getting E2 Dan Heng over Sustainless. Yes, Sustainless is better overall for amping, so if you literally only care about MOC, I'd say always go for Sustainless. But I feel like when it comes to the modes like APOC and Pure Fiction, it's not always straightforward damage that is the difference maker, but a lot of the times just getting extra turns, extra attacks, taking advantage of gimmicks, and that's exactly what E2 Dan Heng does by adding an extra 2 attacks on the summon and making it do double the damage. It does a lot of toughness bar damage, and it's strong enough to clear small mobs in Pure Fiction, allowing for a lot of extra Pure Fiction score, right? So let me know what you guys think. Of course, as I said earlier, this could change. However, Cyrene needs to be like outstanding, right? Like, Cyrene needs to be 30, 40, near 50% better at buffing Phenon than Dan Heng for me to really think like, holy fuck, right? Now this is the character I need to pull. Fuck all the gimmicks from, you know, Dan Heng's extra attacks. I'm just gonna go all in for damage output because of how broken she is with him, right? However, I'm a bit iffy on whether or not Cyrene's specific Chrysos air buffs and the strength she has will be this large, because if this is the case and she's like buffing Phenon this much, then what's going to happen to the premium Cassie team, right? I am going to be honest, the premium Cassie team is already a good amount ahead of any other team in the game in terms of damage output. So if they add an insane support power creep that now brings the premium Cassie team to, let's say, like 25 million instead of the current 20, then that's gonna be a pretty bad omen for the HP inflation and power creep we will get in version 4. Now, of course, this is simply me being on a bit of hopium and hoping that the devs don't fucking throw all the balancing out the window right near the end of the version. However, to be honest, this does sound like something Hoyo would do, so I guess we'll end up finding out in a week, right? Love you all. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great night. Don Heng, he's really solid. He's really good, especially since he's free. As you guys know, I've given my opinion on his Doom posting many times. However, I don't really want to go in depth on that anymore. Whether or not you want to pull that character is completely up to you. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to force anyone to pull someone they don't want to. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great night. And peace out.